then let's just start. Okay. Aggregate functions as in your sum, average, count, minimum, maximum. Okay, those are your aggregate functions. Now, you can pretty much see over here, this is the data we had seen in our initial days of our this ranges and tables. You would have seen somewhat like this only. Not the exact, but somewhat like this. Maybe the data is quite the same. Anyway, coming over to how am I going to write it? Hold on, just a second. Yes. If I have to find, and these aggregate functions which you are really seeing now, in general, not all, in general, they're going to work on numerics. There are exceptions also. I'm going to discuss one by one of them. First one which you're seeing over here is SUM. This you all know, right? SUM is nothing but going to add up the numbers in the given range. Note the point, add up the numbers. Okay, so sum is very much applicable on numerical values only. So if I open my effects over here, sum it just says adds the numbers, all the numbers in a given range of cells. So over here, E2 to E16 is my numerical column. Even I could do the same. I could apply sum on my quantity column also. Both the options are pretty much possible. Here I've gone for total sales. So in our argument area, E2 to E16, and we derive the answer is 38,871. And over here, I am since the range has been mentioned over here, we can see whatever data or values are available in that range. It's everything displayed over here. Sum is okay. You all know about it. I just explained it once more. Again, sum is going to work on numbers only. It's going to add up the numbers in the given range. If I just change this E to maybe A, it's going to give me 0. Why? Because in this range, there are no numerical values. Do you understand now?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Next, coming to average. Average, we all know it's the total sum divided by count of those values. That's what we all know, right? Average. Here we have a ready-made function, which is your average only. Again, average, the term is not all the time they're going to refer it as average. At times the term is referred to as arithmetic mean or simply mean. Okay, so arithmetic mean, and average, all the three words or all the three verbs, they denote the same thing, which is nothing but average. So returns the average of its arguments, which can be numbers or names. Names means nothing but my name ranges. But name range is also again numerical only. It could be arrays of numbers, or references, my cell references that contain numbers. So if any of these options are mentioned, doesn't matter which option has been mentioned as an argument, that should contain numbers. That's what the last three words say, na, that contain numbers. So all okay?
Yes.
Okay. One thing before I forget, I was about to say that whenever you people are sending me assignments, now send it in the group. Now the ones who are already sending in the groups, not an issue. But the ones who are sending me separately, now I'll just request you to send it back in the group, so that, I mean, if you send it separately, now it happens that I might miss out on it. It becomes really difficult for me to track who has sent it and how to do it, and or maybe even I miss out to review it also. Okay, so from now on, who all have sent it on separately, please send it back onto our if the, I mean, the ones who, for ones of I need to still review them, my review comments are still not given. If you or any of the assignments you have sent it in separate group, or separate WhatsApp chat. If you're, in case I have not responded back with any kind of review comments, please send it back to the group, okay? That's a kind of obligation from my end. Is that okay? And from now on, please follow the same. Is it okay? Not okay?
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So average done and my sum also done. Now there's a simple, I don't know if you have noticed this. If I just select this range, na, to the down right hand corner, you can see the average also, you can see the count, you can see the sum. Have you ever noticed this? Any of you? Yes. Okay. Okay. Whatever you have got the answer by applying a function, just have a small recheck onto the bottom. Just select this whole the range that you're going to mention, they mentioned in that particular function. You can see what's the average count and your sum over there. Okay. In here, we have talked about average, we have talked about sum. Next comes count. A count has actually got 5 varieties. Okay, I have discussed about 3 varieties earlier when we had gone for that name range. In there, I've shown you count, count A and count blank. Here, I'm going to discuss the same along with the 2 more varieties also I'm going to mention. Okay, first one is count. That's the most basic one. Count is nothing but it's just going to count all the numbers in the given range. Okay, count, the basic count applies on numbers only. If I open the FX, it's going to tell me the same. Counts the number of cells in a range that contains numbers. Say, for example, I change this E1. Okay, here it says E1 to E16. Is it that the case? Yeah. E1 to E16 is what? 16. Okay, here I've changed, but what about here? Let me count back. See, even though we have selected, we have provided the range from E1 to E16. It ideally tells me, I mean, I know that at the back of my mind that there are 16 cells I have selected, but count shows me only 15. Why? Because one text value is there, rest 15 are your numerical values. Count is going to count only numerical values in the given range. If I select this, okay, here it says 16. Don't go by this. Understand here count is going, basic count will always count the numbers only in the range. Is that fine? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now say suppose even if I say suppose here from E1 to E16, I change it to A1 to A16. It will give me 0. It will give me 0. Why? Reason, very simple reason. All the values in this range from A1 to A16 are all text values. None of them are numerical values. Had there been only at least one numerical value also, it would have given me the answer as 1. No numerical values, so 0. So basic count is fine. I
Yes,
have given
ma'am.
the example over here by from E1 to C2 I have changed. I showed you with A range. One more example is given here with the C range. So I'm not going there. Now what about count A? Count A is nothing but count all. Now there should be an option to count every other data type, right? Not only, I mean, numbers shouldn't get the privilege all the time, right? So what about why this count A is even also coming to picture is whatever you have mentioned the as a range. Here it says E1 to E17. Okay, no problem. Count A, only one criteria is, yes, it's going to count the number of cells, correct. But it will count the cells which are not empty. If the cells are empty, those cells will be ignored. Those won't be counted in that, like those won't be considered in the counting. So over here, and again I'm saying it should be non-empty. When I say non-empty means it doesn't matter what is your data type. If it's a text also, text, date, numbers, all three are pretty much accepted. Only criteria is that whatever you are mentioning as a range inside the argument, like as an argument for this count A function, those should be non-empty. If it is empty, it's not going to be considered in the counting. Let me open an FX and tell you, count the number of cells in a range that are not empty. If you go over here to the value 1, just read it. Value 1, value 2 are 1 to 255 arguments representing the values and cells you want to count. Values can be any type of information. This itself means you can have any data type. From E1 to E17, ideally 17 cells I have selected, but here it gives me only 16 as a value. Why? Because the 17th one, which is E17, it's empty. Empty one, it won't consider. Only the non-empty ones, the one which has got some value or the other, it's going to consider that in counting. So that's what is count all. Count counts numbers only. Count all it counts non-empty cells, regardless of what data type it is. Got to know the difference between the two?
Yes, ma'am.
One more. Same count I am applying it on C1 to C16. The C1 to C16. It will give me the answer C16. Why? Regardless, here it's all text, doesn't matter, but it is not empty. It is having some or the other value. All those 16 cells are not empty, they are having some or the other value. So regardless of my data type, it is going to count. Count A is going to count all. Okay. Now we have an option for counting numbers. We have an option of counting every other non-empty cell. Okay. What about empty cells? That's how your count blank comes into picture. Okay, so if the range that you are mentioning inside has got some empty cells, means it will consider only those empty cells and count them and give us the answer. By OpenFX, counts the number of empty cells in a given range of specified range of cells. So from E1 to E17, E1 to E16, all values are there. E17 is the single most blank cell in this range. So my answer is also 1 over here. Got it? The basic 3 counts. Count, only numbers. Count A, all, only criteria, it should be non-empty. Third one, count blank, it's going to consider only blank cells. So fine with these 3 variations of count?
Yes.
Okay. Coming to the 2 more of it. Next one over here, the fourth one over here is count if. Whenever you see there's an if function, very much we are going to discuss about that. If itself means a condition. Okay. Condition as in count if this condition is true. That's what you have to imply it. Count if means count the range of cells. Yes. If this particular whichever cells or the cell values are satisfying the condition I'm going to mention or satisfying the criteria that I'm going to mention, only those cells will be counted. So count based on a condition. So count the number of cells within a range that meet the given condition. So over here, okay, till now, whether it's count A or count blank, I was just pretty much giving one range only, right? I didn't mention 2 to 3 arguments. I'm just mentioning one argument, which was nothing but the range. Here also, okay, but then there are 2 of them over here. We have this if clause over here, no, along with the count. So first is my range. Yes. Second is my criteria. So the criteria will be very much applied on that range of cells or range of values. Whichever value or whichever cell is going to satisfy that particular criteria or condition, those will be counted. Okay, let's see what's it over here. E2 to E16, this sales in INR only. If the value is greater than 2000, those will be counted. So if I just come over here and number filters, let me just put it as greater than 2000. Let's see how many values are coming up. Okay, 11 values. 11 values. So there are 11 values which have or which are greater than 2000. So my COUNTIF should return me 11. Let me clear out the filter. Let me see what I've done is right or wrong.
Yeah.